headlines, President Park Geun-hye presses Pyongyang for sincere talks and asks ASEM leaders to support South Korea's unification efforts. The Japanese Prime Minister's ritual offering to the controversial Yasukuni War Shrine sparks criticism from South Korea and China. And facing criticism against the U.S. response to Ebola, U.S. President Barack Obama considers appointing a single person to lead the administration's fight against the virus.
Welcome to Primetime News. Hope you had a great week. Live from Seoul, I'm Sean Lim.
And I'm Kang Chery. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. President Park Geun-hye attending this week's Asia-Europe meeting in Italy has laid out Seoul's unification policies as well as other issues concerning the Korean peninsula.
She also sought support for her vision to create a peace park in Korea's demilitarized zone. Arirang's presidential office correspondent Choi You-sun reports from Milan.
Highlighting North Korea as the nexus for Asia and Europe, President Park Geun-hye asked leaders from the two continents to support South Korea's efforts to achieve peaceful unification on the peninsula. On the second day of the Asia-Europe meeting summit in Milan, President Park talked about her government's efforts to resolve the North's nuclear issue and to lay the foundation for unification, such as reviving inter-Korean dialogue. But referring to Pyongyang's repeated cycle of conciliatory gestures and then provocative behavior, the South Korean president said meaningful change in the North can be made if only the ASEM members speak with one voice. She called on the member nations to urge the regime to sincerely resolve both the nuclear and human rights issues in return for international aid and investments. President Park then promoted her vision to establish an ecological peace park in the peninsula's demilitarized zone to place the two Koreas on a path to reconciliation and peace. And that, the president said, would also resolve security threats across Northeast Asia and send a message of peace to the world. Choi You-sun, Arirang News.
And on the sidelines of the ASEM meeting, South Korea and China reaffirmed their shared stance that they will never tolerate North Korea's nuclear program. This was the agreement between President Park Geun-hye and the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang during a one-on-one meeting in Milan. The two leaders also agreed to work towards disarming Pyongyang of its nuclear weapons. Seoul's presidential office told reporters that Premier Li promised that Beijing would play a constructive role in restoring stability on the Korean peninsula and realizing a peaceful unification. The Chinese premier is also said to have mentioned the military talks held on Wednesday between the two Koreas, saying it held great significance, adding that China wants to see inter-Korean ties improve.
And for more on the reaction to Wednesday's inter-Korean military meeting, reports from both sides have not been very optimistic. Seoul wants to try again with another meeting at the end of this month, but Pyongyang has yet to answer the offer. Connie Kim reports on what's getting in the way.
Inter-Korean relations seem to be on the right foot following a surprise visit to South Korea by a high-level North Korean delegation earlier this month. But Pyongyang's criticism of Seoul's attitude before and during Wednesday's military talks is eroding hope the two sides could forge better ties. North Korea has lashed out at South Korea for rejecting its suggestions on ways to improve inter-Korean ties after they exchanged fire across the border. The North Korea Central News Agency reported Thursday that North Korean officials' proposals about stopping vessels crossing the sensitive maritime border and preventing the flying of anti-Pyongyang leaflets fell on deaf ears during talks earlier this week. The report also bashed Seoul for being reluctant to discuss urgent issues. Following the two Koreas' exchange of fire across a disputed maritime border last week, Pyongyang says it sent 3 letters to South Korea before Seoul agreed to sit down for talks. Also lashing out at the South for sending a lower-level delegation than it sent for Wednesday's talks, Pyongyang accused Seoul of only wanting to discuss the main agendas at planned high-level political talks. Regarding Pyongyang's criticism that Seoul called for closed-door discussions, South Korea's defense ministry stressed the North previously accepted Seoul's offer that the military talks be held discreetly. Seoul said Wednesday's meeting went nowhere, but it has expressed hope about making a breakthrough at the political talks. Earlier this week, Seoul suggested holding that round of talks on October 30th, but the North has yet to respond to the proposal. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is back in the public eye again. The regime's state-run Korean Central News Agency reports that Kim inspected a newly built apartment complex in central Pyongyang, is shown walking with a cane just like in the images released earlier in the week. This is Kim's second public appearance after a long absence of about 40 days, during which rumors and speculation mounted about possible health problems and even a coup.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has sent a ritual offering to a controversial war shrine, and this has surely sparked criticism from South Korea and China. But this could also mean that he's not planning to visit the shrine himself, as he's trying to set up meetings with his counterparts in Seoul and Beijing next month. Hwang Sung-hee reports.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe sent a ritual offering to the Yasukuni Shrine in Tokyo on Friday, while dozens of lawmakers paid their respects, marking the start of an annual autumn festival that runs through Monday. The Yasukuni Shrine honors 14 Class A war criminals along with millions of war dead. Visits there by Japanese leaders in the past have angered Korea and China, former victims of Tokyo's past militarism.
I am aware of the fact that the Prime Minister has donated a ritual offering, but this is an act of an individual and not something I think the government should comment on.
Abe, who outraged Seoul and Beijing with a visit to Yasukuni last December, has refrained from making another pilgrimage in consideration of mending ties with neighboring countries. Despite having traveled to over 50 countries since taking office, Abe has not held summit talks with the leaders of Korea or China. He has been trying to set up talks with his Korean and Chinese counterparts at the APEC summit in Beijing next month. Expressing regret over Friday's offering, Seoul's foreign ministry reiterated that Japan must acknowledge its wartime atrocities.
Japan must not lock itself up in its dark past, but advance towards a bright future through a sincere acknowledgement of history.
But even if Abe stays away from the controversial site, eyes will be trained on his cabinet. Japanese Internal Affairs Minister Sanae Takaichi suggested this week that she will visit the shrine at some point during the four-day festival. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
And back here in Korea, ruling party leader Kim Moo-sung's comments about possible constitutional reforms have sparked backlash in political circles. This after even President Park Geun-hye, who had spoken about changing Korea's presidential system to allow for a second term in office, said politicians need to think about revitalizing the Korean economy first. Kim Min-ji reports.
Constitutional reform has become a political hot potato despite President Park Geun-hye's appeal to politicians to refrain from arguing over the issue, at least until the economy is back on a normal growth track.
장기간 표류하던 국회가 정상화돼서 이제 민생 법안과 경제 살리기에 주력해야 하는데 개헌 논의 등 다른 곳으로 국가 역량을 분산시킬 경우 또 다른 경제의 블랙홀을 유발시킬 수 있습니다.
The chief of the president's own ruling Saenuri party, however, has touched off a heated debate over the constitutional revision. Wrapping up his four-day visit to China on Thursday, Kim Moo-sung told reporters that now is a time for a discussion on the matter and that he expected an outpouring of debate once the regular session of the National Assembly ends in December. But on Friday, Kim apologized for what he called a mistake.
I shouldn't have commented on such a sensitive issue. I apologize for my mistake. I also send my apologies to the president.
Kim also clarified that he hopes there will be no debate on the issue within his party before the end of the parliamentary session. If and when they happen, the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy will be ready. The party said that Kim's apology shows the need for the current power structure to be fixed. They say the current system is obsolete and that a majority of lawmakers from the ruling and opposition parties are supportive of a revision. Key opposition lawmakers have also called for the establishment of a special committee at the National Assembly to start the process. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
We turn now to a tragic accident during a K-pop concert this Friday evening in Gyeonggi-do Province, which has killed at least 15 people.
And for more details, we go straight over to our reporter Kwon So-ah at the news center. So-ah, fill us in with the latest.
Chery, the accident occurred at around 5:50 p.m. in Gyeonggi-do Province's Pangyo Techno Valley, not far from Seoul. A ventilator grate collapsed at an outdoor concert there when festival goers climbed up on the grill to get a better view of the performers on stage. A total of 27 people fell 20 meters down into the ventilator shaft, which is equivalent to about 4 floors.
And so I understand that we are currently hearing conflicting reports about the death toll.
That's right, Sean. At least 15 people are reported dead, but there are some conflicting numbers among the fire and police agencies at the scene. But it may be up to 16 and at least 10 are seriously injured. Hospital officials say that there were a lot of abdominal and lung injuries. Now, 1,000 to 2,000 concert goers were at the scene. Security officials said they had restricted people from going on top of the ventilator grill, but spectators reportedly climbed up anyways to get a better view. The Culture Ministry has ordered an emergency response team to thoroughly look into the accident. This has been Kwon So-ah reporting on the latest on the concert accident just south of Seoul.
Korea's benchmark Kospi dropped to the 1,900-point mark, an 8-month low on this Friday. Foreign investors mostly led the day's sell-off with big declines in heavyweights such as Samsung Electronics and Hyundai Motor weighing on the Seoul bourse. Analysts are citing weak profit forecasts for Korean companies, instability in the Eurozone, and capital flow into the U.S. amid anticipation of the Fed's rate hike in the coming months. Korea's Finance Minister Choi You-sun says he supports recent moves to gradually raise the country's minimum wage to a quote-unquote appropriate level. His comments came during a parliamentary audit session on Friday, although he did not elaborate on what he thought an appropriate level might be. Minister Choi did express some reservations, though, saying that a forced hike in the minimum wage could burden businesses and result in job cuts. Korea's minimum wage currently stands at around $4.80, and the Korean government plans to raise it to $5.20 next year.
The highest international decision-making body in IT and telecom policies begins its biggest conference next Monday here in Korea, and the delegates have already started arriving from around the world. Our Song Ji-sun takes a look at what's on the agenda.
Over the weekend, some 3,000 government delegates, including 150 ministers and vice ministers of ICT, will gather at Korea's southern port city of Busan for this year's ITU Plenipotentiary Conference. Its main purpose is setting up global standards in telecommunications and related technologies, but its role in recent years has expanded with a goal of narrowing the information gap between nations through the sharing of ICT policy experience to set a common vision for the future. A day before the official kickoff of the 3-week conference, the annual ICT ministerial meeting will be held at Busan's APEC House under the theme, The Future Role of ICT and Sustainable Development with Inclusive ICTs. On Sunday, the Busan Declaration will be announced, embracing goals ranging from growth, inclusiveness, and sustainability to innovation and partnership. Seoul also seeks to use this opportunity to promote its creative economy models and showcase its latest technologies in the field. Korea's major telecom and handset makers will reveal their advanced 5G technologies, while small and mid-sized companies will be exhibiting their ideas and products at multiple expos held throughout the 3-week conference. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Shifting gears to the culture front, if you're looking for something to do this weekend here in Seoul, the Korean National Ballet takes a new spin on a classical piece of music. Our Park Geun-hye gives us a sneak peek.
Unlike other classical pieces, this modern ballet doesn't have characters or a plot. The 40-minute performance attempts to visualize every note of Beethoven's Symphony No. 7, a masterpiece of classical music that's best known for its lively, dance-like rhythms and festive motifs. In a perfect conversation between music and dance, the movements of the dancers capture the joy, rapture, and sensibility of Beethoven's symphony. The ballet was choreographed by late German dancer Uwe Schwartz and premiered in 1991 by the Stuttgart Ballet, the very place that artistic director of Korea's National Ballet, Kang Chery, has danced for nearly 3 decades.
This kind of the pieces, one is neoclassic, still with the point shoes, very difficult technique, and then one is contemporary. Until now, I think they haven't done yet this kind of pieces as a ballet dancer. One is beautiful, it's mathematics, Uwe Schwartz piece, and the musicality is so unique, and the Rise of Spring is so powerful.
Kang hopes the Korean premiere of the ballet will benefit both dancers and audiences to help them appreciate new interpretations of the genre. The performance will run through this Sunday at Seoul Arts Center. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Rescue teams in the Himalayas are continuing their search for possible survivors after a massive blizzard hit the mountain range earlier this week.
With more, we turn to Paul Yi at the News Center. Paul, what's the current situation on this rescue operation?
Well, local officials say more than 200 people have been rescued as of this Friday. However, dozens more are still believed to be stranded in the deep snow. But with the death toll climbing, this disaster is on its way to becoming the worst mountaineering accident in recent history. Our Sean Jong-un takes us there.
The rescue operation in Nepal continues for scores of trekkers remain unaccounted for after deadly blizzards and avalanches hit the popular Annapurna circuit earlier in the week. Mountain rescue crews and helicopters are scouring hiking trails in the Himalayas, searching for survivors of the severe snowstorm. At least 29 have been confirmed killed, including hikers from Israel, Canada, India, and Poland.
We were on a trip and around Annapurna, heavy snowing and very horrible storm.
The Trekking Agencies Association of Nepal said more than 70 people are missing. Rescue workers say some may have already left the area but simply lost contact due to poor communication links. Some 50 South Korean climbers who lost contact with authorities earlier are reported to be safe inside their cabins.
As you know, there is no reception in many places in Nepal at the moment, so we don't know where is the other people. But we're sure that everything is okay.
However, with so many bodies presumed to be buried under the snow, authorities warned the death toll could very well rise. The unusual snowstorms in the region appear to have been triggered by the remnants of Cyclone Hot, which wreaked havoc in India last week. Sean Jong-in, Arirang News.
And President Barack Obama has approved plans for the U.S. National Guard and Reserve Forces to be deployed in West Africa to combat the Ebola outbreak. The executive order on Thursday outlines the first troops to arrive are expected to build 17 Ebola treatment centers while supporting civilian-led humanitarian efforts in the affected countries. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has called on the international community once again for more money to help fight the epidemic. He said that a trust fund he launched last month to fund Ebola relief programs had fallen short of its goal by $900 million. Entering to Hong Kong, traffic has returned to the streets of Mong Kok area where police cleared out pro-democracy protesters on this Friday. Demonstrators say they were met with little resistance from demonstrators following the days of violent clashes at other main protest sites. Riot police tore down barricades and used cranes to remove tents during the raid. This latest action comes a day after Hong Kong's chief executive Si Wang-long had said he's ready to restart talks with student leaders as early as next week. However, he stressed he's in no position to offer concessions to meet demands for fully free elections in the territory. And finally, Apple has officially unveiled its new line of iPads, claiming the title the world's thinnest tablet on the market. The U.S. tech giant launched the iPad Air 2 and the iPad Mini 3 on Thursday in California. The larger iPad is now just 6 millimeters thick, with both featuring the Touch ID fingerprint sensor. Despite the upgrade, the analysts say the company faces tough challenges ahead amid slowing growth in the tablet market. According to research firm Gartner, tablet sales are set to rise only 11% this year, even as smartphone sales continue to soar. And that wraps up our look at international stories making headlines around the world. I'll see you back here next week.
Hello and welcome. I'm Stephen Che with your sports rundown. And leading off, we came to the last day of the KBO regular season with the fourth and final playoff spot still up for grabs between the LG Twins and SK Wyverns. Both were in action Friday. LG up by a game needed the win to lock it all up. A loss and an SK victory would put SK into the postseason. Now to the LG Lotte matchup. LG has Woo Kyu-min, Lotte Chris Oxspring. Now we go to the first inning. LG's Lee Byung-gyu crushes the 1-0 pitch for the 2-run homer. And Lotte adds 2 before another Lee Byung-gyu homer makes it 4-2 in the third inning. But the Giants get 3 in the bottom, and a 2-run shot by Choi Jun-seok in the fourth inning makes it 7-4. And Lotte goes on to beat LG 8-5. But looking at the other games, Nexon beats SK 7-2 as Seok Chang finishes with an historic 201 hits. And with that, LG advances as SK can't complete the miracle. And the other games, Kia beats Hanwha 5-4, and NC and Tusan are tied in this one 1-1 in the bottom of the 12th. And over to the MLB, the San Francisco Giants are in the World Series after stomping the St. Louis Cardinals 6-3 in Game 5 of the NL Championship Series. The 3-3 ball game came to an end in the bottom of the ninth as Travis Ishikawa blasted the walk-off 3-run home run to right field, giving the Giants the pennant. Now the October Classic will pit the Kansas City Royals, perfect so far this postseason, and the Giants, arguably the best team in baseball this decade, against one another. Now Game 1 starts Tuesday in Kansas City. More live games on the night, this time to the KBL. The Dongbu Promi traded buckets with the KT Sonic Boom. KT starts hot behind guard Chun Tae-pung and great team ball, but Dongbu gets some back before going into the half with KT up 36-30. Now KT2 guard Yoo Yeok-kwon joins in, dropping 10 of his 12 in the third quarter, and it's smooth sailing from there as the Sonic Boom pound the Promi 77-61. Meanwhile, 3 players score 18 for the Orions as they beat LG 93-73. And over to the LPGA KEB Hana Bank Championship going on in Incheon. Korean Lee of France surged to the lead after finishing strong in the second round. As round 1 leader Kang Hae-ji tumbled down the leaderboard going 4 over on the day, Lee climbed to the top, birdieing 3 of the last 4 holes to end at 5 under par. As for the Koreans in the tournament, Heo-mi-jung, Lee Jung-min, and Lee Il-hee at 3 under are tied at 4th with 3 others, including world number 4 Suzanne Pettersen. And that wraps it up for now. Your weather's up next. Have a great weekend and good night.
Hope your week is coming along well. I'm Kim Bo-kyung with the weather updates. Those of you making plans for the weekend should consider checking out the colorful fall leaves, which will reach their peak at Mount Seorak and Mount Ode this weekend. At the moment, we are under clear skies due to a high pressure system, and it looks like more of this late autumn weather is in store over the weekend. Tomorrow's morning lows will jump about 5 degrees compared to today before reaching into the low to mid-20s in the afternoon. But clouds will roll in on Sunday evening, leading to nationwide autumn showers on Monday and Tuesday. On to Saturday's readings. Seoul it's 22, Daegu and Gwangju 24, Busan 23. On to other regions. Daejeon reaches 22, Jeju makes it to 21, and Dokdo 20. Enjoy the rest of your Friday evening. I'll be back with more after midnight.
Okay, looks like a great time to enjoy the weekend.
Definitely.
Thanks, Bo-kyung. I'm Sean Lim. Thanks for watching Primetime News.
And I'm Kang Chery. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.